What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. Today's feature blade, we have another product from WE Knives. What we've got here is the Array model. This particular version is the model number 718B. B is in boy. And that alphanumeric designator, of course, with WE Knives is to designate the handle finish and blade finish. In this instance, with the B designator, you're in the Stonewash blue anodized titanium handle and a combination of Stonewash and satin finish on the blade. As with all WE Knives, you can get this in different colors of anodization and different blade finishes, including this satin Stonewash and then a combination of satin and DLC. All right, this particular model of WE knife is a Simon Crafts design, and I do not know a lot about Simon. I did a quick check, and apparently Simon Crafts is not a knife maker. He's sort of a knife designer, and he's an engineer, he's a CAD expert, and obviously a knife enthusiast, because it takes somebody knowledgeable about knives to design a well-designed knife. And I believe this is the fourth design that he has done for WE Knives, and it's a good design, guys. There's a lot of good things to point out on this. But Simon Crafts is on Instagram, and you can find him at NS_Edgeworks. NS_Edgeworks if you want to check him out. All right, now this is a premium knife. A lot of WE's product is premium. The current price on this is about $249.50, and I pulled that price from Blade HQ, and they do have some of these in stock right now. So let's set this down. We'll take a quick look at the packaging. We've got the standard WE packaging here with the social media information on it. Pretty standard right there. WE does some decent packaging. Inside that packaging, you are going to find WE's zipper pouch. And as always with zipper pouches, and I say this in every video, kudos to the manufacturers for giving us these zipper pouches. It makes any knife purchase feel more premium. I have bought $600 custom knives that were literally delivered to me in a sandwich baggie, a plastic sandwich baggie for a $600 knife. So to get a knife with this premium packaging is fantastic. Let's go over some specs here. This is a long, thin knife. What you have is a 3 5/8 inch blade length, or 9.5 centimeters. Your blade stock thickness, 155 thousandths of an inch, or 3.94 millimeters. Your blade width is 3/4 of an inch, or 19 millimeters. Your handle length is 4 3/4 of an inch, or 12 centimeters. Handle thickness, 512 thousandths of an inch, or 13 millimeters. Your handle width at the widest point at the pivot, 845 thousandths of an inch, or 21.47 millimeters. Your closed width, as you can see, not much wider, guys. In fact, if it wasn't for that flipper tab, it wouldn't be any wider, because the blade fully nests in the handle. But including the flipper tab, you're at 1.05 inches, or 26.8 millimeters. Overall length, about 8.5 inches, or 21.5 centimeters. Your stop pin diameter, I had to estimate because it is a internally captured stop pin, but it looked to be about 2.5 millimeters, or about 90 thousandths of an inch. Behind the edge thickness on this blade, and we will talk about this in more detail later, a very surprising 19 thousandths of an inch, or 0.48 millimeter. Your handle to blade ratio, I think, was 0.73, and your weight, 3.35 ounces, or 95 grams. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into material on this knife. The blade is in Crucible's CPM S35VN, which is a high carbon, high chromium, vanadium, and niobium alloyed stainless steel. It is, in my opinion, one of the most well balanced stainless steels, high-end stainless steels available on the market, and I think that really, for me, it sets a standard for pocket knife stainless steels. No, it's not the most extreme high edge retention, but it is one of the most balanced steels. It gives you great edge retention, great toughness, and great corrosion resistance. And for those steels that go above and beyond that, it's often a trade-off in another characteristic. So for steels that have ultra high-end edge retention, they may not have the toughness or impact resistance, or they may not have corrosion resistance. So it is a trade. There's only so much you can do at one time with a steel alloy. So there is a balancing act, and CPM S35VN is a fine steel. In the handle material, what you've got is titanium. It is stonewashed and anodized. Your small hardware is titanium, and we is making this hardware in-house. You've got a titanium milled backspacer here with integral lanyard hole. A very good titanium milled pocket clip. And then you've got a hardened steel lock face and over travel insert. The knife also does feature ceramic bearings on the pivot and a ceramic detent. So very premium, and what we've come to expect from WE knives. The fit and finish on this knife, on this blade, first let's talk about the finish, because it has 3 finishes on this blade. On the primary grind and the swedge grind, you've got a very fine stone wash. All right, and then on the flat, you've got a horizontal, almost hand rubbed satin type of finish, guys. I hope I'm getting that without the glare. And then up on the grind, the zero grind portion, you have a vertical as machined satin finish there. So 3 finishes on that blade, and let me tell you, everything on this blade is perfectly done. I mean, every aspect of the machining and the grinds is just, I can find 0 issues with it, guys. You've got an excellent choil here, as you see, easy to sharpen to termination with no flare at the termination of the edge there. So great there. We're out past the plunge grind, and it will work as a forward finger choil. So good there. The aesthetic sort of blood groovy type of thing here, which I don't know what purpose it would serve except for aesthetics, is smoothly done, guys. It's everything is just very well done. The grinds are even side to side. The transition from the standard primary and secondary grind into this forward zero grind, look at the transition on this, guys. It is just so well done, and I can't think of any other manufacturer that will even touch this type of edge grind outside of WE, and they've done this on a few models. I can't think of anybody else doing this on a production knife. I've got to think that is an incredibly hard type of grind to set up in your equipment. But let's see, you've got some great jimping. It's very functional. It does grip very well on the thumb, and it is a long length of jimping. Between the blade and the handle here, you've probably got about 2 inches of jimping, guys, and that will accommodate, you know, any type of grip or hand size. You've got a lot of area encompassed with that jimping, and I very much like that. Let's see, fit and finish on the handle here. Guys, it's a WE titanium flipper folder. You're not going to find any machining mark that wasn't meant to be there. You're not going to find any rough or sharp edges. Everything is chamfered interior and exterior. You can see down in there the weight relief, the pocket milling to weight relieve it, scalloping on the inside of the lock bar. This sort of scalloping around the edge here, the ball mill work on the face of it. Everything is just so well machined and attractive. It's an attractive design. As far as the actual finish of it, the stone wash and the anodization is very attractive. The only thing that I'm going to say here is I wish, I mean, if I turn this around, guys, look, what do you see here? Okay, it's just blue. That's all there is. It's just a bunch of blue, guys. I wish that the pocket clip and the back spacer maybe would have been bronze, just to break up that color just a little bit. And other than that, guys, I mean, it's just so well done. I mean, fit and finish, I can't say anything about WE. I very seldom see any fit and finish issues out of them. As far as action goes, you are on their ceramic bearing pivot. This knife has a perfect detent. It rockets out, guys. I mean, it rockets out. A combination of the very well tuned detent, the ceramic bearing pivot, a fairly large but not obtrusive. It's you can see it's a fairly large flipper tab, but it's not quite to that point where you're like, damn, that's a giant flipper tab. And it is jimped on the forward part of it. This knife does like sort of a hybrid push button, light switchy sort of movement. And I find that honestly, most flippers in my hand prefer that type of movement where you're combining sort of the push button and light switchy sort of movements. Good gracious, guys, no issues with the action on this thing. The lockup on it is solid at about 30%. There is no blade play of any type in any direction. Absolute, not even the barest sensation of it. And the centering is perfect, guys. You could not ask for any better out of a flipper at any price point. At any price point. The only thing that I will say is it's not the sort of guillotine-y drop shut. It's a lightweight blade, guys. It is extremely hydraulic smooth. But it doesn't have the blade weight there for that sort of drop shut guillotine type of action. All right, ergos. Well, this blade really surprised me as far as utilitarian use. Now, am I going to say it's the best utilitarian use design blade I've ever seen? Well, no, it's not my preference. I would prefer a wider blade. But typically I prefer a wider blade to thin down grinds, and that is a sort of a miracle with this knife. This is a very narrow blade profile with a nice thick stock. You would think that this primary grind would be very obtuse, and it would affect the edge and make the edge thick, but it's not. You're talking 19 thousandths behind the edge on this standard secondary or primary secondary portion of the blade. That's a very thin and slicey, and very much, I think, the best feature of this knife. That is incredibly hard to do on a narrow blade with substantial blade stock thickness, and both Simon Crafts and WE are to be commended on that, on doing that with this knife. Now, of course, up here on the zero grind, you're going from zero immediately into stock thickness because you don't have a secondary grind. But look at this. Look at how close the full thickness of that blade stock is to the point, to the tip of that knife. That is what this grind gets you, guys. I mean, up to this point where the swedge and the zero grind meet is full blade stock thickness. And then a very slight taper here to your point, but it is still instantly catches and pierces with little to no pressure, guys. This is just a fabulous, even if you don't look at this blade and think that this is the most useful blade type or style or profile, it is absolutely useful in every way. All right, ergo's on the handle. It's a long, slender handle. Keep that in mind. It is slender, guys, but we offset some of that by not going too thin. It is 512 thousandths of an inch thick, so just slightly over a half an inch. So even though it is narrow, it is not like holding a little toothpick that's uncomfortable. At least in my medium-sized hands, it is very comfortable, guys. You've got a nice size finger choil here that is further augmented by the flipper tab. Wide open center section with plenty of room on this handle here. The only thing that I really miss in hand is there is no bird beacon at the back end of the handle at the butt end here to keep my hand from pulling back. But in effect, the choil does work for that. Once you're in that choil, it's hard to move either direction on this. I mean, just your finger right there is going to lock you into this blade. And then you've got this forward choil section, which I really didn't talk too much about, that does allow my medium-sized fingers here to get up in there, and I'm not up against the blade edge right there, guys. For those of you with super fat, chunky, giant-sized hands, it may not be the knife for you. You may not find it comfortable because of its narrowness, and you may not be able to use that forward blade-oriented choil, so keep that in mind. Other than that, it's a very wide open. As far as a forward grip, which is my preferred grip, my secondary grip, which is a reverse grip, extremely comfortable there. I don't think that I would be using this knife in a type of, like fire prep utility use. I won't be using it in a draw cut. A pinch cut is good, guys, because you do have this forward portion of the handle here that is milled down, so it is comfortable to come up and pinch on it. And then again, you've got all this jimping up here, guys. It just makes it feel so secure. For such a narrow handle, it feels so secure in the hand. And really, if it's comfortable and it's secure, and you've got multiple grip options, that's pretty much a perfect handle design, or as perfect as a handle design can get, because no one handle works for every human hand, no matter how good the design is. I've never seen not one in the thousands and thousands and thousands of knives that I have seen, handled, owned, reviewed, everything. I've never seen one handle design that worked for every human hand. But this is a good handle design. All right. So, what else can we talk about here? We got this milled backspacer with the lanyard hole. It's plenty big enough for 550 cord. Oh, the pocket clip. I really wanted to talk about this. It's a milled pocket clip. You've got plenty of clearance between the clip and the body of the handle here. The ramp is it's excellent as far as getting material under it, but you can see it's got sort of a sharp point. The clamping point of the clip against the handle is very narrow, so while it does have a lot of pressure clamping, that clamping point is not huge, so it is easy in and easy out of the pocket. And the number one thing I want to point out is this: most milled pocket clips have a big old base back here, especially if they have multiple screw mounts. Now this is a single screw mount. It is internally, so you would have to disassemble this knife to take the pocket clip off, and it is not reversible, guys, so right hand tip up only. But look how deep you can carry this knife from the forward portion of this base here back. That's the only thing you see. And you know what? It's not even enough to really pinch that knife. So once you take it out of your pocket, or as you're taking it out of your pocket, you are actually going to be reaching down into your pocket to get up on the body, rather than back here on a bunch of exposed body that you would sometimes maybe even typically see with milled pocket clips. This is an excellent design way back on the handle, guys. That is one thing I would like to see more manufacturers do. They do a great milled pocket clip and then mount it an inch down on the handle. Well, what's the purpose? I mean, you've got so much knife sticking out, and then your customers are scrambling to see if they can find an aftermarket deep carry option. With this, you get the premium look of the milled clip, but it is plenty deep carry enough. Awesome pocket clip. So, you know what? I really like this design overall, guys, and we're going to close this right here. I feel like every time that I review a WE knife that I'm reviewing the same knife over and over and over, just in different shapes. They typically feel the same, the action is the same, the lockup centering is the same, the level of finishing is the same. I would imagine that they are so strict with their quality inspections before these go out the door that they just have just a giant barrel full of knives that they were like, no, we're not sending that out. Because in manufacturing, things happen. Nothing is ever, you don't manufacture tens of thousands of an item and that they're all perfect. That just does not happen. But the consumer perceives that product as being perfect because of their quality control. And you combine a high degree of machining and fit and finish with a high degree of quality control, and you get what we see with WE knives, a perception on the consumer side that they just cannot do any wrong. Yeah, the design may not be to your liking, but you really can't find anything wrong with it from a manufacturing standpoint. And that's what we have here, guys. Is this a knife that I'm going to buy myself? Probably not. I got this knife on a pass around that Zelric set up, which I should have mentioned earlier, and I'm sorry, Zell, that I didn't. I appreciate you doing this, not only for myself, but the other reviewers. Because this is probably a knife that I would not have purchased myself, and I would not have had the chance to enjoy it like I have. I was very surprised with the blade grind on this. I think it is probably its best feature. The second best feature is, at least in my hands, the comfort on the handle. For such a narrow handle, guys, it is so comfortable in multiple different grips. But those of you with giant gorilla hands, it may not be what is comfortable for you. So you may want to check into that first. But overall, can Bazzon Blades and is Bazzon Blades going to recommend this product? I am going to recommend the WE Knives Array 718. I think it is a very good design. Surprisingly impressive blade grind, a very comfortable handle, very high level of fit and finish as always from WE. And if it's your thing, if you want something this slim and slender, then go for it, guys. I think it's one of the best examples on the market and will stack up pretty much against anything. All right, so as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.